Hello, hello. My name is Alex Cage. This is Cage's Comments, and today I will be commenting on the first two games of the NBA Finals. Last we spoke was just before Game 1, or a few hours, I should say, for recording before Game 1. My prediction was Spurs in 7, and technically, to win in 7, you do have to lose 3 games. So we're right on track, right? Right? Right on track. No, the Knicks are up 2-0 in this series, as you guys well know, and um, most of this I will give when and if the Knicks win the finals, I will give them all of their flowers. But as a Spurs fan, after a couple of days here of recouping from what was a heart-wrenching loss in Game 2, I am going to mostly go through the reasons for hope or cope that I have for the Spurs moving forward to come back in this series. I will start off with a quick, thoughts on Game 1 and Game 2 in terms of why and how the Knicks won. Game 1, Jalen Brunson's fourth quarter. 5 and 9, 13 points. He was clutch. The Knicks knew exactly what they wanted to do in clutch time. The Spurs did not. And that's how you erase the 14-point deficit and come out of there with a 10-point win for the Knicks in Game 1. In Game 2, I thought there were, more or less, basically two stories. Karl-Anthony Towns absolutely wiping the floor with Wemby. He was at 17 points, 7 boards, 3 assists on 6 of 8 in the first half of Game 2, and it was just straight line drive after straight line drive, just blew by him, knocked down threes. I would have Karl-Anthony Towns as the Finals MVP through 2 games. The Knicks are plus 22 through these 2 games when he is on the floor, and minus 11 when he is not. He has been the best player in this series, I think, by a pretty wide margin so far. That being said, it really just feels like the Knicks have been the better team, I think, for the vast majority of these 2 games. And yet, the Spurs, we're going to start the cope/hope here. The Spurs feels like are one Castle Wemby miscommunication away from this series being tied. So maybe the end of Game 2 was such a gut punch that the Spurs cannot emotionally recover and go get 2 road wins in New York. And I do think they have to win both games. I think if they go down 3-0, it goes without saying. No one's ever done that. And 3-1, while it's been done before, is not at all the spot you want to be in. It would be a hell of a way to start the Victor Wembanyama, GOAT arguments if in his first finals he does the same, copies the achievement of what I think, when LeBron became the GOAT. Would be a hell of a start. Not one I'd like to experience personally as a Spurs fan. So I do think the Spurs need both of these games. I think they have to win both of these games, or they are simply cooked, if they aren't cooked already, right? So that being said, I've got 4 reasons why I think the Spurs can come back. The first is Victor Wembanyama and his second half specifically, where he was 9 of 17, 22 points, had a steal, a couple of blocks. He was much more aggressive, and he found his jump shot. First 6 quarters of this series, he was 8 of 24, and if not for his ability to get to the line, I think it was 13 times in Game 1, would have been a complete non-factor scoring the basketball. So if he is kind of over the shell shock Charles Barkley, as he said, when's the last time, Wemby truly just got his ass kicked, and that's exactly what Karl-Anthony Towns was doing. If he's over that, and I am a bit surprised by that, of course, then he's back to being, the best player in the world and can be the best player on the court for the rest of this series. And if that's the case, point for the Spurs. That's the first and foremost thing that has to happen, is he has to get back to playing like he did in the second half. He has to be aggressive offensively. He has to knock down shots, and he probably has to be more comfortable going into the paint and playing in the paint more than he has in these first two games. The second thing is Karl-Anthony Towns in foul trouble. The first game, I think he only had like 2 fouls. It was not a big deal. In this game, credit to the Knicks, and this is something that could also be kind of, that I might have been wrong about. That was one of my worries, or one of my, worries for the Knicks, I guess, going into this series was going to be Karl-Anthony Towns in foul trouble. When he got pulled out of this game in the third quarter for foul trouble, the Knicks were up 10 points. When he came back into the game, they were still up 9. So they survived and did well in the minutes that he missed because of foul trouble, kind of outside the normal rotation as they were. I don't think, given the fact that they're minus 11 in these two games when he's off the floor, that they want that to continue. If Wemby continues to be aggressive and attacks Towns off the dribble, attacks him in the post, I think he can get him in foul trouble, and I think the Knicks do not want that. This whole run in the postseason has been about Towns' kind of ascension and him playing at a higher level than really we've ever seen. So I think that can still be something that the Spurs attack, and that goes kind of hand in hand with my first point of Wemby being aggressive and finding his offense again. Third reason is in the first game, Mitch Johnson, Dylan Harper was playing really well. Fourth quarter, Mitch Johnson's like, hey, where's Dylan Harper? He's on the bench, but I don't necessarily want to bench either one of my starting guards late in the fourth. And in game 2, he sat Castle down. In the fourth quarter, they were down 12 when he did it. And by the time he put him back in for the last few possessions, the Spurs had erased that deficit. That's when they went on their run. I really like Castle. He's a great defender, but his turnovers and his lack of shot making can really hurt this team. And Johnson kind of not being willing to go with his hotter hands, I think was a mistake in game 1, and I'm happy he made that adjustment in game 2. Harper and Fox in the fourth quarter, by the way, were combined 14 points, 3 assists, only 1 turnover, and they made all 5 of their shots. Johnson's got to be willing to do that, and it might mean benching Fox, right? Moving forward in this series. I don't anticipate that. I think it'll probably be Castle, but if it is Fox, if he's really struggling in one of these games, then he needs to be willing to do that with their 3 guards. One of the benefits of the kind of egalitarianness that the Spurs have shown at that position all year should be, we're going to go with the hot hand. Salaries, long-term stuff, any of that kind of be damned. We're going to go with the hot hand come the fourth quarter of these games and rely on the fact that all of our guys are good perimeter defenders. All of them can make an impact on that end, and we trust them even if it means not necessarily having our best one out there, right? Which does lead me to then my fourth reason for optimism. The defense on Jalen Brunson outside of the fourth quarter in game 1 has been excellent and very reminiscent of what they were able to do to SGA, right? Just a reminder, SGA was held under 40% from the field in 5 of the 7 games. The Spurs, so far, outside of that, again, fourth quarter where Brunson was awesome. He was 5 of 9 for 13 points in that fourth quarter. The rest of these two games, he was 7 of 22 for 17 points in the first three quarters in game one. He was 7 of 25 for 20 points in the totality of game two. Combined, that's 14 of 37 for 37 points. That's under 30% from the field. His true shooting percentage is 41%, and his effective field goal percentage is 37. I bring up the true shooting percentage because that factors in free throws. The Spurs have only put him on the line 9 times in 2 games. They're not fouling, / the refs are allowing the perimeter defense to be very physical. We'll see if that continues going back to Madison Square Garden. But I think they can keep that up. They showed that against OKC, that they have the bodies and the perimeter defenders to throw at elite isolation players, guard them straight up, and make their life really, really tough. Castle obviously is a part of that, but Vassell is also an excellent defender. Champagne's good, Fox is good, Harper's good. They have a ton of bodies to throw at these great isolation players, and whilst I think the Spurs, on a bit of a side note, lack and need a true power forward, one of the kind of benefits of not having that is they play 4 guys that are very well equipped to guard on the perimeter at all times. There is not a matchup to hunt. There is no James Harden. There is no Darius Garland. Insert bad defender here that you just go hunt after with Jalen Brunson at the end of these games. So I think those are all reasons for optimism for the Spurs. All that being said, may just be a whole bit of cope. May just be a whole lot of cope, a whole lot of hope here from the Spurs fan. The Knicks have been excellent all postseason. They're playing really well. They don't beat themselves, and they know exactly how to perform in the clutch. And the Spurs have shown kind of throughout this playoffs that, particularly these late game situations, they're not necessarily the best at, right? They're not necessarily the most well polished, and they don't have. Wemby doesn't have his go-to move, and I don't think the Spurs have done a good job all season, really, of emphasizing, hey, late in these games, we want to get into the Fox-Wemby 2-man game, pick and roll, handoffs, whatever the case may be, and we're going to maximize their spacing around that. So those are all advantages for the Knicks, and hopefully when I come back and make a video on Thursday, the series is tied 2-2, and we're talking about best of 3, and who's going to take it home after that. But I mean, hopefully we are going back to San Antonio at least one more time. Be a real shame, I think, for the Spurs to end this in a sweep and not even grab a game. But we shall see. Guys, let me know how much copium or hopium you think this video is. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Thanks for watching. I will see y'all on Thursday or Friday, depending upon how this series goes. Thanks.